lead us through a learning exercise. So you get 2 glasses, same size, one of them filled with water. Ruth's going to lead that. Our next speaker is indeed Ruth Wislocky, a good friend of WPA. Inspired by personal experiences as a family caregiver, Ruth now owns Synergy Home Care in Milwaukee. Ruth's experience in social and residential services, including in licensing and operations for group homes. She's a member of WPA's Caregiver Committee. Hi, Ruth.
Hello, thank you for having me. Thanks for your patience, everyone. All right, well, we are going to get started. Once again, I thank you all for this opportunity to do this exercise. We've conducted this exercise in the past at the Wisconsin Parkinson's Association, and it was met with great response. Individuals really found that it helped them. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The presentation and demonstration is called Filling Your Vessel. And as it was already discussed, my background, I'm an owner of a home care in Milwaukee area called Synergy Home Care. I've been running Synergy for the last 10 years. I'm also today's senior on the Morning Blend, talking about topics related to seniors and education. I've been in this industry my entire career, 35 years, helping people at Lutheran Social Services with a variety of residential supports. And as was mentioned, I like to always be involved in some manner or form with the Wisconsin Parkinson's Association. It's quite it has a special place in my heart. And if you want to go to the next slide. I'm going to give you a little tip in advance that the things that I do to refill my own vessel. I spend time with my husband reinventing what it is to be an empty nester. I purposely make home-cooked meals to draw my children and my grandchildren back home to the nest. I practice yoga for rest and relaxation and exercise as often as I can. Music helps me fill my vessel, music of every type. And most recently, I've been learning to play the ukulele. And I tell you, you can't even say the word ukulele without smiling. It's such a happy instrument, such a happy sound. So I like to pick songs that remind me of a person, and I play that for them. And that really helps me fill my vessel in this stressful world. So next slide. This is my story. When I was probably about 1 year old, there's a picture on the left of me and my father. And as you can see, he was caring for me. He was advocating and caring and nurturing me. Fast forward to a photo in 2009, you can see what happens, right? The circle of life. That was at a point where my father was probably around 8 years into his condition with Parkinson's disease. And yet now it's our turn. As care partners to care for our loved ones. So that was my personal story. Okay, next slide. So being in this industry my entire career, my goal was to help my parents on their journey. Everyone has their own journey. We all have our own story. And for my parents, it was an 8-year journey. I wanted to make sure that my mother, who I knew was my father's care partner, was going to have the support that she needed as his care partner. And I also knew that my father was frustrated, I would say even angry because of his circumstances. He didn't ask for a chronic condition, and he felt guilty. He felt guilty that family and friends had to help him. So I helped my parents, with my background, create a plan that included family and professional services, because I wanted to get on top of the subtle changes that my father would experience or my mother as a care partner, so that I could sit them down, share with them all the options that are available to them, and then they could make decisions. It was the one thing that they could do, and controlling their condition is making choices for themselves with all the choices available. Ultimately, by doing that and addressing things when they were subtle, I believe very strongly that we avoided a lot of crises, a lot of health crises for my father. And really, he was able to make more decisions about his medical decisions and support. So next slide. So, who is a care partner? I considered myself a care partner, even though it was my father and I did not live with them, because anyone who is advocating for someone with a chronic condition is a care partner. And so we all have to acknowledge that and say, this person is important to me, and so I am their partner. We all have seen the studies that say if a care partner does not take care of themselves, the studies will show that sometimes the care partner starts having chronic health conditions. And in some cases, the care partner may pass on before the person that they are providing care for. So doctors and psychologists and studies have shown that being a care partner, while it is something that we're all dedicated to doing, it does have an impact. It has an impact on us emotionally and physically. That's why they have a thing called respite. Respite simply means a break. Every one of us needs to take a break. And a break could be in the form of ongoing regular respite, or it could be an opportunity to get away for a couple of days or a weekend or spend some time with family. Respite is important. And so that's where I came across this concept of filling our own vessel. It's so important for a care partner to do that. So next slide. So I want you to prepare for the demonstration. If you did not, as Gary mentioned, if you did not get 2 glasses, preferably your favorite glass, the glass you like to use the most at home, grab those glasses, fill one of them with water, and make sure that one of them is empty. So I have the same thing. I have a full glass and an empty glass. You have your 2 glasses, and you need to get into the mindset of removing any sense of guilt when you think about yourself. Care partners tend to forget about themselves. So for the next 20 minutes, I want you to think only about yourself. Remove any guilt. Start thinking about the things that you do as a care partner every day. Think about the things that affect you physically, emotionally, things that you're now doing because your partner can no longer do. And when we discuss these things, I want you to think about how much stress does that particular event induce to you? How does that feel when you think about that particular event? If that particular event causes you a lot of stress, you're going to pour a lot of water from one vessel into the empty vessel. If it doesn't bother you at all, you leave it empty. So you really have to gauge on your own. There's no right or wrong to this. You have to gauge how much stress the events that we're going to discuss cause you, and then go ahead and empty your bottle accordingly. So next slide. So we're going to start with physical stressors. So start thinking about your physical stress. As a care partner, has your morning routine changed? Are you assisting your care partner with getting dressed in the morning, helping them with bathing, any personal care? Are you physically transferring them? If that is causing you stress, go ahead and empty the appropriate amount of water into the empty vessel. Do you find yourself having more tasks in the morning, whether they're physical or not? Are you just doing more than you ever used to do as a care partner? Go ahead and empty your bottle accordingly. Are you responsible for chores now around the house that you typically were not responsible for? Are you doing things like yard work that you perhaps never did before? Are you now the cook and you never were the cook? Housekeeping, those types of things. This is a big one, sleep. Are you sleeping less? Are you getting more fitful sleep? Is sleep a problem for you? For many people, it is. So if that is a problem, go ahead and empty into your bottle accordingly. Do you find yourself doing more activities like laundry, going up and down the stairs more often? All right, next slide. So now we want to think about emotional or financial stressors. Here's the big one, right? COVID-19. Has this pandemic caused you more emotional stress? I can pretty much guarantee that for most of us, that's a yes. whether it's changing your lifestyle, adapting your lifestyle, trying to protect your loved one from injury or illness, or perhaps getting COVID-19. That's very stressful. Are well-meaning family members or friends questioning how you are handling or caring for your care partner? Seems an odd question, but for those of you who are dealing with that type of stress, it's a very real stress. Do you find yourself isolating from your friends or your social groups now that you're a care partner? And if that is stressful for you, go ahead and pour into the bottle. Do you ever worry about long-term financial future as a result of Parkinson's disease and everything that's related to it? Do you ever wonder or lay awake at night wondering what's going to be the next stage and how are we going to handle this on our Parkinson's disease journey? Do you find yourself being perhaps short with your friends or your family or your care partner? And afterward, do you find yourself feeling guilty about that? If that's causing you stress, go ahead and empty your bottle. Do you find yourself advocating more for your care partner and spending less time on yourself? My guess is most of you are doing that. Go ahead, don't feel guilty, and go ahead and empty your stressor, your bottle. Okay, so now it's going to be curious to know where you ran out of water. Where in the course of your day did you run out of water? That water relates to you and how much you can give to others. And so what we need to remember is we want to refill our vessel every day. How are you refilling your vessel? If you've run out of water, what more can you give? And so in order to do that, the first thing you have to do is you have to give yourself permission to be a priority. I'm going to say it again. You have to give yourself permission to be a priority. You want to be practical. If you want to refill your bottle and you fill your vessel, then you have to be practical. Start creating a list of things that other people can do. And so when people who really do care about you say, is there anything I can do? Bring out that list. You can put that list on your phone. You can put it on a piece of paper and keep it in your wallet or in your purse. And here are some things that I have learned that I suggest to others. If you have friends and neighbors asking, is there anything I can do? Ask them to collect your trash can every week, which is a wonderful but simple little thing to do. Can they collect your mail? Could they take that lawnmower and keep on mowing over into your yard and finish up your yard when they're mowing the lawn? Could they call you and say, hey, I'm heading to the grocery store. Is there anything that I can get for you? And it's not just about tasks. It's also about spending time. Tell them not to be afraid to stop over and have a cup of coffee or have a beer with you. And certainly in COVID, we know how to do that. We can put on a mask. We can sit more than 6 feet apart. We can still socialize even when someone has Parkinson's disease. I want to stop for a second and just talk about that because we at Synergy Home Care in Metropolitan Milwaukee are serving about 150 clients. And we go into their homes every day. And our caregivers are wearing masks, they're washing their hands, they're wearing gloves, wiping down services, but they're still caring for people with chronic conditions. And I'm happy to say that none of our clients have contracted COVID from our caregivers. So don't be afraid to isolate too much your family member with Parkinson's disease if you practice the CDC guidelines. Asking a friend or family member for a few hours a week, just so you can maybe take a nap, read a book, meet up with your friends or work in your garden, dropping off a meal once a week. Boy, that's always so appreciated. And it's probably made with lots of love as well. And don't forget about the family who's out of town. We struggle with that. How can my family who are out of town help? There are things they can do. Here are some suggestions. They could be that person who pays your bills for you. If that's one less thing off your list and they can help, we can pay bills electronically. They could maybe perhaps be the person, maybe this is an adult child, coordinating the doctor's appointments, or even better, reviewing the explanation of benefits that you get back from the doctor appointments. Those are fun, right? And they take a lot of time sometimes to sort out and make sure that they're accurate and correct. That's time. And time is precious for you right now. And so let another family member do that for you. There's always someone in the family that really loves that kind of stuff anyway. You can have them chat virtually. You could pick a day of the week or even once a day where they chat with your loved one who's working through Parkinson's right now. And that gives you time to yourself, time to get a break, time to take a nap, perhaps. I really am a big believer in rest and napping. You can ask them to set up a meal plan and have meals delivered to the house as a birthday gift or a holiday gift. So those are just some ideas to help you hopefully spark some ideas for yourself. I always say, think like a parent. When our children were young and bored, Mom, I'm bored. What can I do? We can always come up with something to do. We can always come up with something. So start thinking like a parent and start making a list of things that people can do to help you. Okay, next slide. You can also hire others to do the physical work. Don't be afraid of taking on professional services in the mix of your family and natural supports. Someone else can make meals, do the laundry. Someone can mow the lawn. A personal caregiver can help your loved one with bathing and dressing and toileting and transferring. Those things that you're certainly doing because you love your care partner, but if you can keep your relationship as whole as possible as to what it originally was, whether it's spouse to spouse or parent to child, it's always a good idea to try to maintain the original relationship as much as possible. So having someone else do personal care, honestly, is a very practical thing to do. It also gives you an opportunity to leave the house and know that your loved one is in safe hands in case something were to happen, there was an emergency. Day programming of all sorts are starting to open up now with COVID. And so look at options for having your loved one go somewhere and hang out with others. And that gives you a time to yourself. And virtual classes are definitely coming back in. So keep looking for ideas for your family that fits your needs. Ultimately, you want them to go back to being your companion and their advocate and not worrying so much about the tasks. Seek emotional help. Don't dismiss it. It's real and it's important for you to be supported, whether it's a support group, whether it's spiritual support, doing simple things every day that renew your spirit. Don't neglect your emotional support. And don't forget that your family and your care partner care about you too. You're going through this together, and it's important that you take care of yourself. Okay, next slide. So congratulations. You have all completed this demonstration, and now you have permission to take care of yourself. I hope that you will use this glass, the glass that is your favorite glass that you emptied, as a reminder. I want it to be a visual reminder for you that every day you have to remember to fill your own vessel. One of the best supports that you're going to have, and I believe so strongly in this, is the Wisconsin Parkinson's Association. I'm so proud to be a member of, in some way, shape, or form, to support all of you. I've been there myself, and as a professional, it's an amazing program, amazing association. And if you have any questions, you know that you can reach out to them to get the resources and support you need. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you'd like me to conduct this demonstration with your support group, we can do that as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ruth. I'll wait for everybody to applaud.
Oh, I blush.
It's so loud, isn't it? It's amazing. Well, we appreciate you doing this virtually. I know it's a lot better to be in person. You can get some good discussion. But we have had a few questions come up that I want to ask you.
Sure.
One that actually came in before the program even started was submitted when the person registered They said, as we're going through the journey of Parkinson's disease and as my spouse's symptoms change, how do I make sure I communicate with them my needs and my choices without trying to make them feel like maybe I'm minimizing what they're going through with their diagnosis?
That's a great question. I think the best way to do that is to have that conversation when they're visiting with their doctor. When you're visiting with a doctor, both partners are on the journey. And so perhaps saying to the doctor, doctor, I have to share with you that I'm feeling a little bit, I'm worried about this next transition. Then the doctor is aware that it's really evolving the two of you. And as a third party and as a person that we respect, the doctor can then give some advice and maybe acknowledge and affirm that what the care partner is going through is valid. Again, I can't say enough about the Wisconsin Parkinson's Association. That's a great place to reach out for the individual who asked that question. I'm glad that individual is recognizing it's important to figure this out for them.
It's a perfect segue. Thanks for talking to the doctor on Friday afternoon at noon. Dr. Michael Schoenberger from Lutheran Cross talking about the role of the care partner in an appointment.
Perfect.
It's a great tie-in. It's almost like we're blended together and everything kind of works together.
Very impressive.
So one of the things you mentioned in your presentation, you talked about COVID. The elephant in the room. The reason we're doing this virtual, COVID.
Right.
For a caregiver, care partner, what are some of the resources you would really recommend to them that they maybe can take advantage of when so few things are open right now because of the restrictions due to COVID?
Right. I've been watching very closely any of the day programming that is resuming, because I think that has been such a source of help for families. And in the metropolitan Milwaukee area, I can tell you that there are day programs that have opened, and there are events in your local communities that are now starting to reopen. Some of them are still virtual. And of course, I have been a big promoter of the exercise class through the Wisconsin Parkinson's Association with Mary Wood, because that's at least a way to get some resources. If someone is looking for wanting to figure out, what kind of support do I need in my home or funding, I always recommend the Aging and Disability Resource Center. In Wisconsin, every county has an Aging and Disability Resource Center. It's also important to note that in every county, there is a respite grant. So there is grant money to help pay for services to come into your home. We at Synergy have at least 6 to 8 clients who are currently on a respite grant. It's a wonderful thing. So you have to reach out to the ADRC to get that information.
Thank you. One of the questions that just came in, and I think maybe you are in a really unique position to answer, Ruth. The question is, as the daughter of somebody with Parkinson's disease, is there a checklist or certain things I should know that I can maybe better assist or help my mom who has Parkinson's disease?
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I would say watch for subtle changes. Watch for subtle changes in your mother, and don't be afraid to talk to her about it. Say, Mom, I'm noticing something is a little different. We all, especially as Americans, we're so independent and we want to remain independent. And so we're a little fearful as a family member to point out something that you're losing. But the sooner that you can point it out in a very factual observation, the sooner then you can say, let's get on top of this so that you can stay healthy. And I think what we've all experienced with Parkinson's disease is the disease is unique for every person. And so seeing your doctor because you're noticing a change of condition is only going to benefit you. It might mean that maybe some benefit covered therapy is going to come into the house and help your mother regain or maintain her strength and her mobility. But don't be afraid. Just that transition of watching out and caring for our parents is a difficult transition, but I would just encourage her not to be afraid to say, Mom, I'm seeing something has changed.
I think the most important thing we've talked about today, and you just mentioned, Ruth, that I think we forget is communication. You just said ask, talk, bring it up, whether it's a doctor's appointment, person to person. So I think maybe as a personal or as a family caregiver, as well as a professional caregiver, the last question I'm going to ask you is, where do you really feel we're lacking in communication, and what things should people be asking, whether it's with a professional or with their own family?
I think that the thing that we avoid is the future. What does the future hold? How long, mom or dad or spouse, do you want to stay home, or do you want to stay home? Are you prepared to die at home? Those are uncomfortable conversations to have, and to me, that's the elephant in the room. The more we talk about that, the more we can plan and say, here are the markers that we have to watch for. And most importantly, we can prepare. If we're talking about that and things are changing, then we can make the changes to accomplish that goal. As a daughter, that was sometimes hard for my father to hear, when I would talk frankly with my parents. And ultimately, my goal was to help him fulfill his goals to stay home. And that's really what we were able to do.
Well, thank you, Ruth. As always, great presentation. I really appreciate getting through the technical hurdles to do this, but also being able to do virtually and really provide great information to our caregivers that are out there. So again, round of applause. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me.